Let's cut straight to it. When you hit 50 plus, society suddenly decides you've become invisible. I see it happening to incredible people every day, and I'm telling you, it's absolute garbage. I've spent years studying why brilliant individuals with decades of wisdom get pushed to the sidelines. Not because they've lost their value, but because they've forgotten how to command the damn room. Today that ends. I'm going to show you exactly how to transform from being overlooked to becoming undeniable after 50. Not with cheap tricks, but with authentic power that makes people lean in when you speak. Here's the truth nobody's telling you. Society has fed you a convenient lie that your relevance has an expiration date. Why? Because it's easier to dismiss you than to compete with your experience. The stats don't lie. People over 50 control over 70% of America's disposable income, but show up in only 15% of media images. This isn't an accident. Your invisibility isn't because you lack value, it's because you've stopped demanding the recognition you've earned. Let me tell you about Margaret, a marketing powerhouse with 3 decades of industry-changing work. At 58, she sat in meetings watching her ideas get ignored, then celebrated when repeated by younger colleagues minutes later. Sound familiar? She came to me ready to retreat, to gracefully step aside. I told her what I'm telling you now. Retreating isn't grace, it's surrender. And you haven't come this far to surrender now. Instead of backing down, Margaret applied the exact framework I'm about to teach you. 6 months later, the same people who had been talking over her were competing for her attention. This isn't about ego, it's about impact. Because when your voice goes unheard, everyone loses access to the wisdom only decades of living can provide. So, what actually makes people influential? Strip away all the noise and it comes down to mastering 3 elements: visibility, value, and voice. Master these 3 V's, and you become impossible to ignore, whether you're 25 or 75. Let's break this down into actions you can take today. First, let's talk visibility. Most people over 50 make the critical mistake of trying to blend in, when they should be strategically standing out. I'm not talking about desperate attention-seeking. I'm talking about purposeful presence that commands respect, the kind that makes people instinctively wait for your response before moving forward. Start by identifying your authentic presence style. Some of us command attention through quiet intensity, others through energetic engagement. Neither is wrong, but pretending to be something you're not absolutely is. When you do speak, use what I call the position reason experience technique. State your position clearly, support it with solid reasoning. Then deliver the knockout, an example from your experience that no one else in the room can match. Your physical presence isn't optional, it's foundational. I've coached executives for years, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, your body communicates before your mouth opens. People who take up appropriate physical space through posture, deliberate gestures, and intentional movement are instantly perceived as more authoritative. Want a 2-second change that transforms how people respond to you? Roll your shoulders back, lift your sternum, and look people directly in the eye when you speak. Try it right now as you're watching. Feel the difference? That's not coincidence, it's biology. Now let's address value, where most people over 50 completely miss the mark. Stop competing on speed, technological tricks, or working longer hours. That's playing a game designed for you to lose. Your decades of experience have given you something invaluable: pattern recognition that younger people simply haven't had time to develop. I call this your depth advantage. You've seen economic cycles complete, you've watched industries transform, you've witnessed human behavior patterns repeat across decades. This gives you predictive power that others lack, but, and this is absolutely crucial, you need to frame this experience as forward-looking insight, not backward-looking history. Instead of saying "back in my day," which mentally disengages listeners, say "I've watched this pattern play out multiple times, and here's what typically happens next." This subtle shift positions your experience as predictive rather than retrospective. See the difference? One makes you sound stuck in the past, the other makes you sound like someone who can see around corners. Let me be blunt about something. If you're not technologically competent in 2025, you're choosing irrelevance. You don't need to be a coding genius, but demonstrating comfort with current platforms is non-negotiable. Period. The good news, adults over 50 are actually the fastest growing demographic on many digital platforms. Choose 1 or 2 that align with your expertise and become selectively visible there. Consistency beats perfection every single time. The third element is voice, how you deliver your presence and value. Your voice needs to be both authentic to who you are and adaptive to your audience. This isn't about changing your message, It's about ensuring it lands with maximum impact. Before important conversations, I spend 3 minutes on perspective shifting. I ask myself, who exactly am I talking to? What keeps them up at night? How can I frame my message in terms they deeply care about? This isn't manipulation, it's effective communication. The greatest insight in the world is worthless if delivered in a way that prevents people from hearing it. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, ageism. Yes, it exists. Yes, it's real. And yes, you still need to deal with it effectively. Complaining about age discrimination might feel temporarily satisfying, but it changes absolutely nothing about your situation. Instead, focus your energy on being so damn good they can't ignore you. Stay current in your field, not by chasing every trend but by understanding the fundamental principles driving change. When you encounter clear age bias, address it strategically. I've noticed my suggestions seem to gain traction when repeated by others. I'd like to understand if there's something about my communication style that's not registering effectively. This opens the conversation without creating defensiveness. Let me ask you something. Have you ever considered that your age might actually be your greatest competitive advantage? Think about it. In a world drowning in information but starving for wisdom, your contextual knowledge and depth of understanding become increasingly rare and valuable. The key is positioning this depth as an asset rather than letting others frame it as outdated thinking. There's a quote I return to often. Experience isn't about how long you've been doing something, it's about what you've learned along the way. Your influence doesn't come from years accumulated. It comes from insights gained through those years, and this part is crucial. Your ability to make those insights relevant to current challenges. Here's a technique I teach to clients who need to establish authority quickly in any room. The expertise establishment loop. First, identify specific areas where your experience has given you unique insight. Then, create opportunities to demonstrate that insight through stories or analysis that directly connects to present challenges. When you consistently show that your experience solves today's problems, people stop seeing your age and start seeing your value. Let's be crystal clear about something. Reclaiming your influence isn't just about professional settings. These principles apply equally in family dynamics, community involvement, and social circles. I've watched too many incredible people accept diminished roles in their own families, nodding along while younger relatives make decisions about matters where their wisdom would be invaluable. Your voice matters in every aspect of your life. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize something important. Transitioning from invisible to influential isn't about dominating every conversation or demanding constant attention. It's about ensuring your authentic self is seen, heard, and valued when it matters most. It's about impact, not ego. Start by implementing just one technique from each V: visibility, value, and voice. Notice what works in your specific context and build from there. The transformation won't happen overnight, but it will happen. I've guided hundreds of people through this exact process, and I've watched them reclaim not just their influence but their sense of purpose. If this approach resonates with you, please hit the subscribe button right now and join our community of people who refuse to fade into the background. Every week, I share specific techniques for reclaiming your power in a youth-obsessed world. Drop a comment below with one situation where you want more influence. I personally read every comment and use them to create future videos. Remember this, the world doesn't just need more young voices. It desperately needs your wisdom, your perspective, and your hard-won insights. Your second act isn't about gracefully fading away, it's about finally stepping fully into the power you've earned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.